What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of In My Room Podcast, episode number 23. I'm Parker Svakianis here with Michael Johnson. And we are so excited to be back with you guys. Yes, I'm a senior in Briarwood Christian School, and it's been a couple episodes since we've been able to be back both on here together. Yeah. But we're excited
together again once at last
to be back with y'all. We have a really fun episode prepared for you guys today. We're going to be talking about Winterfest and kind of the ins and outs of it.
It's coming out the day before we leave. If you're going to Winterfest, I mean, some of y'all, this might not be the episode for you. I'm sure you'll get something out of it, like always. But this is Winterfest preparation episode number 1.
Yes.
Just to let y'all know, the things going on with Winterfest and In My Room are substantial. I'm not going to reveal too much yet. You will definitely see if you follow us on Instagram, inmyroom.podcast. You can follow us there on Instagram. You will be seeing everything, but trust me, there is a lot of stuff. There might or may not be like a mad long episode about like interviews with different people that are going to be going through Winterfest on each day. There might even be the first YouTube video ever uploaded to the In My Room account.
Stay tuned.
I'm telling you, like and I'm. It's not just a vision going on, but I'm trying to execute this vision and direction that I think the Lord's given me for Winterfest and how it relates to In My Room and sort of us relaying the experience. So, anyways, Parker. I mean, unfortunately, he can't go this year, but
yeah. But I've been blessed to be able to make it. I think at least two of the years, and it's been an absolute blast. And
Winterfest is so much fun.
It's something that I encourage y'all if you've never been, make a diligent effort to go one year, because it's something that you will like remember for the rest of your life, and you will not regret it.
In Gatlinburg, Tennessee, so it's like. Just going up to Gatlinburg in and of itself is fun.
Exactly.
Like we go up there every Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But in the addition, like of being able to go to the services at night, and have all these amazing singers and musicians, and then a great service with great preaching, and then just, God is always so faithful. And my dad says it all the time, or Clint, he says it all the time about how the Lord is so faithful to always be present at Winterfest. So.
Yep. And it's just like, it's so cool. You get to start off your day the right way, and then you get to go hang out in Gatlinburg, and then you get to end your day the right way. And it's not only a time of fellowship with the Lord, but also just in building relationships and godly relationships with your friends and meeting people at the conference. I think it's always one of my favorite parts about it. Like just kind of like the section that you're sitting by or the church that you're near. It's such just like a friendly place that like you're gonna meet somebody new there that you're gonna just be like, I really like this person. Like it's fun to get to build new relationships and cut up with each other and whatnot, all while you're worshiping the Lord. So it's great.
Yes, I mean, we'll get to it later. I don't really want to start on like the actual Winterfest experience. I really want to start on the kind of the spiritual preparation, because again, this is coming out the day before Winterfest, so we leave at like 5:50. The service will be that night, I think, unless it's a Friday. I can't really remember. Yeah, we have service Thursday night, I think. Honestly, I don't even know. But what I was getting to is I don't want to cut right to the experiences yet. I want to talk more about something that I realized. I made an Instagram post about it, but I took it down for reasons that you can ask me about off the podcast. But I spoke about it on the Instagram, and it was about a preparative, if that's a word, a preparative season or time that is necessary before events like Winterfest. I'm not saying that you can't have a spiritual encounter with the Lord. I'm a testament that you absolutely can have a spiritual encounter with the Lord outside of major events. One of the biggest encounters I've ever had was laying in my bed at 1:00 at night. But I'm definitely not saying that the only time you can have a spiritual encounter is when you're at events like this. But I do think it is important to, and I place a lot of value on taking the preparation, taking the spiritual, getting into the right place, getting into the right posture spiritually before events like this. Seriously, so that's sort of where I want to start. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, that's great. And I think one of the important factors of that is just the how serious you take make it is how serious it's going to be. So
that's true.
It sounds cliche, but like the more locked in you are in your preparation, the more your heart's going to be open for the Lord to speak to you. And so I'm a testament to times that I haven't been as so quote unquote serious about it in preparation up to, and then after the fact I'm wondering, I feel like I could have gotten more out of that.
Yeah.
You know, and then I am prepared and I'm like, wait, that was it.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's important when we are preparing to have an encounter with the Lord and, you know, and receive his word and let him speak to us to really lock in and dial in for that time, because there's a lot of stuff that could kind of slip by if we're not really focused and letting the Lord speak to us. And so that's kind of like a little just caveat to the whole preparation aspect is really like take it serious. And it sounds like just a little like, oh, well, obviously you take it serious, but like for real though, because
no, there's definitely you're definitely right about that. I think chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you take your faith pretty seriously. Like, if you know, I probably will group the people that listen to Christian podcasts at the top 1% of Christians. No, I'm just kidding, but I mean, I do believe that you're a spiritual leader. You are a person that pursues ministry if you are listening to this podcast, or if you just listen to any Christian podcast, not specifically in my room. God bless you if you do. But you're probably a spiritual leader if you're listening to a Christian podcast on a Wednesday night or whenever you're listening to this. So my case is that the preparation season also, as Parker was saying, it's important because in preparation season, we can increase the amount of space that the Lord can work in our hearts. In our preparation season, when we're going through the process of surrenderance and just opening our hearts to the Lord, it's great because the Lord will be able to work in our lives more as we become more available to Him. But another really key part that I think a lot of y'all that are listening to this, who are ministers, I mean, all of us are ministers, so I'm speaking to you directly, whoever's listening to this right now. I think it's really awesome in preparation seasons that not only the Lord can work in us and in our own lives, but the Lord is able to work through us more at events like Winterfest because of these preparation seasons. So what I'm saying is that as we become more available, as we start to pray and fast, or whatever you do in your preparative season, understand that the Lord can also use you as a vessel of His Holy Spirit and of His power. We just had a whole big old deal about spiritual giftings at young adults. A lot of those being like healing and miracles and deliverance and even prophesying. Like, all of these things are things that the Lord has given us to be able to edify and build up the body of the church, right? So I think it is only right, if we understand that the Lord gives spiritual gifts, that we should become available vessels for those spiritual gifts, and also to be able to use those giftings right at one of the biggest platforms all year within your church at Winterfest. So two things, as Parker was saying: become available, prepare to where the Lord is able to work in your life. The Lord loves space in our heart to be able to work, and also prepare for the Lord to be able to use you to minister to somebody else. Transitioning. Preparation season's really, it's an interesting, we use this word, or I use this word, sort of, I wouldn't say lightly, but I use it loosely, due to the fact that to some degree, all the time we need to be in a preparative season, meaning that every single day we are looking for opportunities to be able to serve and minister and be vessels of Christ and vessels of what the Lord wants to do. So sort of all the time, regardless if there's Winterfest, Camp Utopia, big events that we're expecting the Lord to move mightily in, all the time we sort of need to be in some type of preparative season, in a season where we're ready to be able to be vessels, we're available to be vessels. But again, we obviously put an emphasis on these events because, it's just like thousands and thousands of people gathering together to be able to worship the Lord and encounter Jesus.
Yeah, and I think of it as excuse me, as like a consistent posture is kind of what it goes like.
Yeah,
being in
that's a
a
good word.
consistent posture to the Lord, because it's really easy for us to be like, oh yeah, Winterfest is coming up. I'm a
Let me lock in quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but what's hard is 2 weeks after, when that spiritual high is on its way down.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, why don't I feel like I did a week ago? But that's when we're being tested to stay in that consistent posture, to be able to receive what the Lord is telling us and to let the Lord work through us. Because oftentimes when we're on the way, like oftentimes I would be willing to say that the times that we get out of that consistent posture are probably sometimes the things that we're missing the most that the Lord's trying to do. And so having that consistent posture I call it like in the in-between, I guess.
Yeah.
Because they do a great job of spreading all these huge events that we're able to go to out throughout the whole year. There's 4 or 5 of them that you got Fall Retreat, Winterfest, Beach Retreat, Camp Utopia, all of the above. Our BHAM weekend, everything. It's all spread out really good, but there's so much time in between that oftentimes, I know I'm speaking to myself here too. Like, we find ourselves kind of falling out of that consistent daily posture, when ultimately we should be taking that the exact same way as if we were going to Winterfest in a week. And so I think when we do that and we do stay in that consistent posture, we're going to get consistent results.
Yeah.
And I think so. Just that's kind of the word that popped in my mind, was a consistent posture, and with our hearts open to the Lord, even if it's 2 or 3 weeks after. And I really encourage you guys, like when you do kind of feel like, oh, like I don't feel the same as I did 3 weeks ago at Winterfest or whatever. I encourage you, right when you feel that, to really, really, really lock in and like be like, no, I'm not stopping. Like, I'm going to continue to be in this posture, because oftentimes those 1 or 2 days where you're like, all right, whatever, like, or you start feeling kind of bad and you're like, why don't I feel this or that? Like, get right back on, I promise, because it's just going to propel you. And it's so easy to fall off that posture. Yeah. And so I really think of it as like a daily consistent posture. And it's, speaking to myself here, something I know that I've had issues with at times, and something that I've seen that is really, really good for the heart. So
yeah, I really like what you said about like a consistent posture of readiness and preparedness. Well, I think when we make these preparation seasons, like these seasons of fasting and seasons of communal prayer and all that stuff, when we make those seasons exclusive to events, we set ourselves up for failure, which is burnout, which is a spiritual high that's followed by a really spiritual low. We set ourselves up for those types of seasons when we make preparing, fasting, praying super exclusive to those events. So again, mimicking Parker, that should be a consistent posture. That should be year round. You should be preparing, or we say preparing. You should just be in a season of, or you should just be in a mindset of a posture towards the Lord all the time. You know, regardless of, obviously, again, placing emphasis on these events, but understanding that we need to be prepared at all times to be able to be vessels of the Lord, regardless of the season or the proximity we are to certain events. If you catch my drift. So, anyways, done talking about, we talked about it for 15 minutes. Done talking about preparation. Let's talk about Winterfest itself, which we sort of did a little, but let's talk about Winterfest itself. And I think my favorite part of Winterfest is every night we go back to the cabin, we go back to the hotel, and Clint asks, what did the Lord do in your life to the youth group, which is like 40 or 50, 60 people. And it's always amazes me how some of the craziest and most profound things get said after about what the Lord did. You know, whether that was, and this is a testament to some of my closest friends, of people being filled with the Holy Ghost for the first time at Winterfest, or people being freed. I remember there's this one time, and I'm sure, I think you were there for it. There was this girl who was in our youth group, and she said, I have not ate in 2.5 weeks because of the anxiety and stress that I have. I haven't eaten in 2.5 weeks. which is what, like almost 20 days probably.
It's a long time.
Yeah, a really long time. And this girl's in like middle school. And it's because of I think she was saying something about it's because of the stress at home or just there's a lot of stuff going, and she just could not eat. And so at the service, she responded to the altar call, and she went up and she was freed from it. And then she ate like a...
She grubbed.
Yeah, she grubbed up when she got back to the house, and she felt great.
Yeah.
And she was like, this today, when I got back, was the first time I'd eaten in 2.5 weeks. And I was like... It's
crazy.
Yeah, I was like, the Lord just does some crazy, awesome things.
And that's kind of like when you said, like, talking about your favorite part, that's literally what popped in my brain, where it's like being able to hear like the Lord's work through other people's stories, because a lot of times it's kind of background stuff that are just hid behind the curtains that we don't really see. And it's a time for all of us to just be real with each other and transparent and real with the Lord, most importantly. And oftentimes, at our home life or at our school, we try to hide it from our friends and sometimes even the Lord. And we're like, I'm just going to keep this to me or whatever. But obviously the Lord knows. But our friends sometimes might not. And so it provides a deeper level of like understanding and like realness and fellowship with your friends and people that you could have known for a very long time. And you just now realize that you're like, wait, really? That was happening? I never knew that, right? And it gives you something to kind of build off of with them for the future and stuff to pray with them about and stuff to continually seek the Lord with. And sometimes once one person speaks up and talks about what the Lord does in your life or in their life, oftentimes you're like, he did that in my life too. And y'all can bond over that. And you can create new relationships and you can create deeper relationships through the stories that we hear of the Lord doing a work in these conferences. And so that's definitely my favorite part, is
the testimonies
and just being able and seeing it firsthand, like being able to see, like, you can tell it. Sometimes you can just tell a difference. Like you can tell a difference in people just based off like what the Lord's done in their life through that weekend or through on that night or whatever it might be. And so I think it's really cool to kind of see back and be like, okay, look at him now. It's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
I'm expecting. I mean, we're having a testimony night. I mean, the Wednesday after we get back, I'm fully expecting to go to Winterfest and for a new testimony, to be built. Not just in me, but in like hopefully every other person. I want 35 people or however many people are going to Winterfest from our youth group to be able to share, and for them to have that testimony of how powerfully the Lord worked in their life. But I mean, Scripture says that the testimony is to edify believers, is to build up other believers, to encourage. And again, Winterfest is like one of those places that those testimonies just get built. Like they just get built because of I think it's, if you go to Winterfest, you hear the cries and the prayers of other people all around you. I mean, chances are if you go to Winterfest and you want to be prayed for, you will be prayed for.
Exactly.
There's a lot of power in prayer, and especially communal prayer from people that are coming from the same point of view, from the same issues and problems, and all come together in communal prayer in humility. I think that's one thing that I want to talk about in a second. But in humility, crying out to the Lord, exalting His name, and petitioning Him, asking for Him to do a work in our lives.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people don't realize when they think about these conferences is like everyone like treats you like they've known you for a long time because you're all seeking one person. You're all seeking Jesus. And so it doesn't matter if they've never seen you in their life because when it's you and them and you both are praying to the Lord, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because you guys are both reaching the same goal and you're going towards the same goal together.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing that people kind of don't realize from the outside, but something that's so cool is like, it's like a community. It's like everybody in there knows each other. It's like, even though they don't for real, but like they do in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah. Just last thing, I know this hasn't been a long episode, but last thing, when we go to Winterfest, if you're going to Winterfest, or just from a broad perspective of all of these big events, go in with humility, be concerned with yourself in terms of how your worship is perceived by the Lord. A lot of times, a lot of people get caught up in I wouldn't say pride, but definitely get caught up in the self and the performance and the whole deal. Don't be so concerned with all of the different things going on, with the busyness, that you lose track of the reason that you came. Be concerned in humility. Say, regardless of what's going on around me, I still am expecting to have an encounter with the Lord. I want the Lord to fill me, to use me, for me to be a vessel. All of the things that we've previously talked about. Go in with humility and understanding that, again, a lot of the other people around you probably going through the same problems as you are. But just humility, expectation, things like that, what we've talked about previously. Don't get so caught up in your different many opinions like I do about who's speaking or the people up on stage and what their mindset is. Don't get caught up in all that. Be focused with yourself and how your worship is perceived. Be genuine. Be in humility and that type of thing. So
yeah, I got nothing to add to that. That was great.
Yeah. So it's again, not there's a lot of content coming out really soon within the next 1 or 2 weeks regarding Winterfest and other things going on. Be on the lookout for that. I've enjoyed this podcast. I mean, I always enjoy the podcast. We love you.
Yes, we love you guys. Thankful to be back.
Yes. Yeah. And we're
episode 23.
Yeah. Episode 23. Man, I feel like every 10 episodes, like we were at episode 10 super fast, and episode 20 came even faster because there was no Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, it just goes by really fast. But
thank you guys for also tuning into the Instagram and checking out our podcast and listening. We do appreciate all of you.
Yeah, I said it last podcast. I appreciate every like, comment, follow, DM, whatever we get. I appreciate it all. We love you. We're praying for you.
Yep.
Stay in contact through the inmyroom.podcast Instagram page and be on the lookout for new episodes on the Spotify and Apple. We'll see you on episode number 24.